Another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, we are covering the Bryan Kohberger Affidavit. It's finally been released after he was served his papers, after his court appearance. Let's go ahead and dive into that, why don't we? Sorry, had my video going on in the background. What do we know? This affidavit, the information in it is provided by Brett Payne, who is a duly appointed, qualified, and acting peace officer within the county of Latah, state of Idaho. Brett Payne is employed by Moscow Police Department in the official capacity or position of corporal and has been a trained and qualified peace officer for approximately 4 years. Corporal Payne, he is being assisted by members of the Idaho State Police and agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker and I, referring to the Brett Payne, who is the one that's providing all this information in the affidavit, they responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter referred to as King Road residence, in order to assist with scene security and processing of a crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon our arrival, the Idaho State Police forensic team was on scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. MPD officers, Moscow Police Department, Officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised that he would walk them through the scene. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Zaina's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Zaina Canoodle, hereafter referred to in this document as Canoodle Room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Canoodle's, laying on the floor. Canoodle was deceased with wounds which appear to have been caused by an edged weapon. Again, as they approached the room, they could see a body, later identified as Xana. I'm going to break this down in all little bits as well so that we can have a clear understanding of what we are learning. Rest in peace to everyone, all the kids. Please have patience as we get through this. I do want to share that this is about the victims. What do we know about the victims? I'm going to do my best to share, but trigger warnings, this is going to be ugly, just like it already did, and I forgot to give the trigger warning. So I want to make sure that we are on the same page as to what is going to be in this. It is going to be an ugly situation. So trigger warning, let's get back into it. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin, referred to as Chapin in the document. Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined by the autopsy report provided by the Spokane Medical Center. Now, in this document, I'm not too sure what happened to page 2, if there is a page 2, but it's completely blank by all accounts. And so the medical examiner, which was dated December 15th, 2022, this autopsy, that Ethan's injuries were to be caused by sharp force injuries. And the affiant, the officer filling out this information, says, I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the 3rd floor of the residence. The 3rd floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Gonsalves, hereafter referred to as Gonsalves' room. I later learned from a review of Officer Nunez's body cam there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Gonsalves and her Gonsalves, forgive me for that, and her ex-boyfriend Jack Ducour. I found out from my interview with Jack Ducour on November 13, 2022, that he and Gonsalves shared the dog. Officer Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the third floor. The bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogen's, referred to now in this information document as Mogen. They found this wall with Madison Mogen's bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the third floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see two females in the single bed in the room. Both Gonsalves and Mogen were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed that what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side. When viewed from the door, that's how that looked. That tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side. That is the view that they had when they walked into the door. That's Mogen's right side, which was the view from the door when they walk in. The sheath was later processed and had K-Bar, USMC, and the United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA, the suspect profile, left on the button snap of the knife sheath. That tells me that's a big part of where they got the DNA sample from. Literally, right? They found it, the DNA from a suspect profile on that sheath, which is the knife holder. And this sheath was later processed, had K-Bar on it, which is how we knew there was a K-Bar knife involved. It also had USMC, which is United States Marine Corps, their Eagle Globe and Anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. This sheath, the Idaho State Lab located a single source of male DNA, which is said to be Bryan Kohberger. That's where this DNA came from. That is how they tied it back to him. And it was left on the button snap, on the snap of the knife sheath. As part of the investigation, numerous interviews were conducted by Moscow Police Department officers, Idaho State Police detectives, and FBI agents. Two of the interviews included BF and DM. That's what the document is sharing. Two of the interviews included BF and DM. BF and DM. Those have to be the roommates, right? Bethany and Dylan Mortensen or something like that. And Bethany, I kind of forget her name off the top of my head right now. But this is the two roommates. They were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victim. So that is definitely Dylan and Bethany. BF's bedroom was located on the east side of the first floor. And let me see if that's, you're looking at the first floor there. East side, would that be the left side in front of the Jeep? Would that be the left side? That's my guess. What do you guys think about that? And this is at the time, her roommates, these are the roommates that they're sharing. So again, two of the interviews included BF, which is Bethany Funk, I believe, and Dylan Mortensen, something along those lines. Those are the surviving victims. They were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides. They're the roommates of the victims. Bethany's bedroom was located on the east side of the first floor. Now, you can see windows in front of the cars. That's the first floor. Is the east side in front of the Jeep? Or is it is it on the right side of the building? If we're facing it, the east side would be the right side. I'm not 100% sure though. Based on numerous interviews that were conducted by the MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of the evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12, 2022, Chapin and Canuto are seen by Bethany at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Pierce Drive from approximately 9 p.m. on November 12th to 1:45 a.m. on November 13th. Bethany also estimated that at approximately 1:45 a.m., Chapin and Canuto returned to the King Road residence. Bethany also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Canuto. Gonsalves and Mogan were at a local bar, the Corner Club, at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Gonsalves and Mogan can be seen on video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th. At approximately 1:30 a.m., Gonsalves and Mogan can be seen on video at a local food vendor called The Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. The video was captured by law enforcement. A private party reported that he provided a ride to Gonsalves and Mogan at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grub Truck to the King Road residence. Dylan and Bethany both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms, by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Canuto, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information about them getting a DoorDash. Again, exception of Canuto, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. That law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who himself reported this information. Dylan, she stated that she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. On the southeast side. So there was some truth about Dylan having her room in the second floor. She stated that she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonsalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs rooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, Dylan said she heard who she thought was Gonsalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." Oh my gosh, this is so chilling. She heard someone say, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from a forensic download of Canuto's phone showed this could also have been Canuto, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. Dylan stated that she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. Dylan stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Canuto's room. Dylan then said she heard a male voice to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." What exactly could that possibly mean? I'm going to help you. With what? What does that mean? as we continue to dive into this, this is a very, very heartbreaking story. Again, not for the faint of heart. That's why I was saying that beware, this is going to get uglier and uglier. Because we know now the dog, someone thought the dog was the one making noise. And she even heard, there's someone in here. Is that not so chilling? Is that not as chilling as it gets? Wow, wow, wow. And so at approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. Is this our Murphy? Is this Murphy that was barking? Because people said there was nothing. But again, law enforcement did not say that, right? Law enforcement never said that. So people were assuming, is that a fair statement? The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernoodle's bedroom. That is literally very close to the bedroom. I'm beyond taken away. Dylan stated that she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Wow. Dylan described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past Dylan as she stood in a frozen shock face. Wow. So Dylan saw the killer. That's what I'm getting. He did nothing to her. He walked towards the back sliding glass door. Dylan locked herself in her bedroom after seeing the male. Can someone help me now understand how there was not a 911 call until 11:58? I am blown away. Blown away that she says she did not recognize the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Again, no phone call till 11:58. I am beyond blown away at this very moment. Unless she passed out and then someone else saw her passed out. Let's continue. The combination of Dylan's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from Bethany and Dylan's phone, and video of a suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe that the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25 a.m. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by Idaho State Police forensic team by first using a presumptive blood test and then amino black. This is a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern, similar to the pattern of a Vans type shoe sole, just outside the door of Dylan's bedroom. Again, Dylan's bedroom is located on the second floor. And this is consistent with Dylan's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. As part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as a video canvass, was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvass was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, in the area of the King Road residence and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspects or suspect vehicle traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses, and the affiant shared that I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with other MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter referred to as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appeared Suspect Vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. A review of footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of Suspect Vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show Suspect Vehicle number 1 makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residence and then leave via Walenta Drive. Let me say that again. So, a review of the footage from multiple videos obtained from the King Road neighborhood, it showed multiple sightings of this white sedan, which we now know to be the Hyundai Elantra. And so they saw, but there was multiple videos that were in the neighborhood that showed multiple sightings. So they saw him here, they saw him here, they saw him here. Anywhere between the hour, it was almost like a full hour, 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m. And these sightings, they show that this vehicle makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residence and then leave via Walenta Drive. And the affiant says, based off of my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time frame. And so Suspect Vehicle 1, which is the white sedan, which we now know as the Hyundai Elantra, can be seen entering the area a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. Again, can be seen entering the area a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. Now, when Suspect Vehicle number 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again down Queen Road. This white car, the white sedan, is next seen departing the area of the King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. This Suspect Vehicle 1 is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. Based on the officer's knowledge of who provided this information, based on his knowledge of the area and review of camera footage in the neighborhood that does not show Suspect Vehicle 1 during that time frame, I believe that Suspect Vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palooza River Drive and Conestoga Drive. Paluzy River Drive is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Now, obviously, Pullman, Washington is where Washington State University is, where Bryan attended school, where Bryan also lived in the apartment there on campus in their resident apartments. So you can see the connection to Bryan as well, because that's what they were following with video camera. And so both Pullman in Washington and Moscow, Idaho, they're both small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Law enforcement officers, they provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years law enforcement experience with 12 years at the FBI. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles, and he uses a database that gives visual clues of vehicles across states to identify differences between vehicles. And so after this expert, after reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011 to 2016 white Hyundai Elantra. Now, we've only knew all along that they were looking for a 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra. We don't know when this part, the date of when they started changing that, right? We don't really know that part. But investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. At approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards South Route 270. Now, according to Affidavit, the South Route 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington as being a 2014-2016 Hyundai Elantra. At approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington, and on WSU campus cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Paluzy River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. The white sedan was then observed turning north on Bishop Boulevard and northwest on South Route 270 at approximately 5:27 a.m., the white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling northbound on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. This is where it literally, like, holy mackerel, I am beyond words at this time. Of course, I've got a lot of words to share, but let's share a little bit of what one of these exhibits are. As you can see here, let's see. This is part of the 270, the South Route. This is an image in the affidavit that they have shared. I'm going to share with you the depiction showing Moscow and Pullman, the connection. It's a little dark and grainy. You can kind of see a little bit on there. The depiction showing white Elantra's path of travel, not to scale. And so this is showing a little more after. I just want to go through the affidavit as to what they have, but we will continue to have a deep dive, not in this episode, but in future episodes. So we're going to do a deep dive into this whole thing and bring out the maps and really draw this up, right? And so I just want to make sure that I'm going to share with you the images that they're sharing, because I'm trying to share with you the actual affidavit, right? Now, this is showing that, but really when we think about it, and it shows a little more here, let's take a closer look at that. This thing is kind of in my way. So you can see here, see if I can, there we go. So the white Elantra leaving WSU campus. Let's see if I can mark this. Oh, poopies, sorry. Nope, can't do that. Can't mark it. I'll have to download it later. And give me a second while I fix my error of my ways here. All right. Well, let's see what I did there. This stuff will happen, peeps. This stuff will happen. And now I have to go back and bring it back up. My apologies. Give me one more minute. And we will continue to share that, of course. Let's see here. Let's go back to the images. And I am having a little bit of trouble. So let's see here. I had this thing going. It was working. Now it's asking me for a login. I do not like that. Let's see if it'll let me log in anyway. Okay, let me log in anyway. Alrighty. Let's see. Here we go. I think we're back on track here. So then if nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, so a little hiccup here. I had it, and now I don't have it. Poopy grandes. Let's see if I did the right thing here. All right. Well, I shouldn't have clicked on that thing, huh? Give me 1 second while I fix the errors of my ways. So let's see here. Where did I have this the first time? Because now it's making me log in. I don't understand why it's making me log in after it did not make me log in the first time. Is it because I wanted to do that and now they're saying I don't have access to it? Well, why did you make me log in? Well, I will get this. So give me a second. I know some of you are probably going to tune out because of the errors of my ways. I totally get it. Let's see if we can get this thing ASAP. Let's see, what is this? Okay. Let's see. We might have something here. Back on track. Alrighty. Let's be careful this time, right, peeps? Okay, now we're getting back on track here. My apologies again. Okay, so looking at the scaling it, right? Getting a better idea on this. Let's make this bigger. There we go. Okay, sorry for the delay there, my friends. So you have the white Elantra. Let's see if I can draw on it, right? You got this right there. That is the white Elantra seen leaving WSU campus. Then you have, where is the red? We got a bunch of reds. So you can see the tracks, right? White Elantra seen returning to the campus. Is this it right here? I'm kind of going, there's all this red, so I'm guessing this is it right there. And then you have 630 Northeast Valley Road. That's up here. And so you can see a little bit of his destination, the alleged perp. And so you can see the arrows are camera locations and indicate the vehicle travel, direction of travel. So you can see the white Elantra seen leaving WSU campus, the white Elantra seen returning to the WSU campus, and then 630 Northeast Valley Road, another part of where he was seen. And really, you know, truth is, we're glad that this has finally come out, right? Because we want to know, what did Moscow Police Department have on Bryan Kohberger and the direction he traveled, right? So now that we have more on this, I want to know why. We won't have a motive in here, but we will find that we're going to continue to find out more. Let's continue. So on November 25th, 2022, which was almost 2 weeks later, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for white Hyundai Elantras in the area. On November 29th, at approximately 12:28 a.m., Washington State University police officer Daniel Tiengo, he queried about the white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. So they've been tracking this dude for a minute. The vehicle was registered to Bryan Kohberger. Kohberger, he resided at 1630 Northeast Valley Road. Again, that is on this screen, 1630 Northeast Valley Road. That's this up here. This is where he lived. Then they catch the cameras of him traveling. Wow, right? And so this is where he was seen leaving the campus and following in his route. And so, good police work. I would say good job being alert as well, right? Good job even being alert on this. Because I mean, the guys were pulled over in Indiana. But again, it looks like the FBI prompted them to do that. And so police officer Daniel Tiengo, he's like, let's check out the white Elantras that are registered at WSU. And hey, we have located a 2015 white Elantra that was registered to a student, Kohberger. Wow, right? To me, this is actually mind-blowing as well, because they have been tracking this dude for a minute. And we're finding out it's so true. So here we have this vehicle that was registered to Bryan Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201. That you heard it, which I shared on the channel, was apartment 201. I showed you the door if you've been following the channel. The same day after they figured this out, so like it's like they figured out, like, hey, he lives there, 1630 Northeast Valley Road. This is approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Kruger Way. That was the last camera location that picked up the white Elantra. My friends, we have to be real. This is not looking good for him because it shows he was definitely in the area at least. And so that same day at approximately 12:58 a.m., WSU officer Curtis Whitman, he was looking for white Hyundai Elantras and located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman in the parking lot. 1630 Northeast Valley Road is an apartment complex that houses WSU students. Officer Whitman also ran the car and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. He says, the person who wrote this affidavit up says, I reviewed Kohberger's Washington State driver's license information and photograph. The license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 feet and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows, which was also said to be what one of the witnesses said they saw. He had bushy eyebrows. So Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male Dylan Mortensen saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. Wow, right? That is definitely, look at those. Those don't quite look bushy in this image, but, you know, they could very well be bushy, right? And so further investigation, including a review of Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Corporal Duke's body cam and reports, it showed that on August 21st, 2022, Bryan was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho by Corporal Duke. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania license plate LFZ8649, which was set to expire on November 30th, 2022. Which also we know that he did get it done before that. He actually got his license plate renewed 5 days after the incident at 1122 Kings Road. During the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body cam, Kohberger provided his telephone number, and we'll be referring to that as 8458 phone. I don't know the full digits, but the last 4 digits were 8458 as his cellular telephone number. Investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that 8458 phone is a number issued by AT&T. And so on October 14th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger, he was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer. Upon review of that body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and he was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ8649. On November 18, 2022, according to Washington State licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Elantra with Washington and later received Washington plate CFB 8708. Prior to this time, the 2015 white Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania, which does not require a front license plate to be displayed. This was learned through communications with a Pennsylvania officer who is currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. And based on the officer who wrote this up, based on their experience and communication with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plates to be displayed. In Indiana, you do not need a front license plate as well. Just an FYI. Investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. This was information that was provided by a query to a database. Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15th, 2022 by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. You see, on December 16th, 2022, at approximately 2:26 p.m., surveillance video showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant of the vehicle was a white male whose description was consistent with Kohberger. Kohberger, he has family in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. And they would learn that through a search and location tool database query that law enforcement uses. Based on information provided on the WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision making when committing a crime. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13, 2022, between 3 and 5 a.m. And after determining that Kohberger was associated with both the 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed these search warrants returns. A query of the phone in these returns did not show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 and 5 a.m. Based on my training, I'm speaking as the affiant of this report, of this information. Based on my training and experience and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cellular telephone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their cell telephone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. I also know that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or for several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular phone at a separate location or turn it off since they do not plan to commit the offense on that particular day. And so, 2 days before Christmas, on December 3rd, 2022, I applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th at midnight and November 14th at midnight for the 8458 phone held by the phone provider AT&T, approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicides. And on December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to that search warrant, I received records from the phone. These records indicated that 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since June 23rd, 2022. Basically, shortly after He got his apartment in Washington, Pullman. These records also included historical cell site location information for 8458 phone. After receiving this information, I consulted with an FBI special agent that is certified as a member of the Cellular Analysis Survey Team, CAST for short. Members of CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI and are required to pass extensive training that includes both written and practical examinations prior to be certified with CAST, as well as the completion of yearly certification requirements. Additionally, the FBI CAST special agent that I consulted with has over 15 years of federal law enforcement experience, which includes 6 years with the FBI. From information provided by CAST, I was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from November 12th to November 13th, the time period authorized by the court. On November 13th, at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington, the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra at approximately 2:47 a.m. The 8458 phone stops working to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cell coverage, the connection to the network is disabled, such as putting the phone in airplane mode, or that the phone is turned off. Wow. The 8458 phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m., at which time it utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow, Idaho, near Blaine, Idaho. Between 4:50 a.m. and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 to Genesee, Idaho, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then north back into Pullman, Washington. At approximately 5:30 a.m., the 8458 phone is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to the Kohberger residence. The 8458 phone's movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling north on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. And based on a review of the 8458 phone's estimated locations and travel, the 8458 phone's travel is consistent with that of the white Elantra. Further review indicated that the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022 that are consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the area of the Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. The 8458 phone next utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone traveling back to the area of the Kohberger residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32 a.m. And you can see here where they're sharing it. You can see this is a possible route based off of cellular device location. And you can see exactly from blue to red. Wow. This is chilling to know. And let me tell you, not looking good considering that they are finding a lot associated with him. And the DNA matching this K-bar thing, why would he even leave that there? Like, that is definitely sloppy work, isn't it? And so investigators found that the 8458 did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th. But investigators do not believe that the 8458 phone was in Moscow on that date. The 8458 phone has not connected to any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date. So he was there allegedly on November 14th. But they did not believe that the phone was in Moscow on that date. So they find that it did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th. But investigators do not believe that the phone was in Moscow on that date. The 8458 phone has not connected to any towers that provide service to Moscow since that date. And the officer writing this, he says, based on my training, experience, and the facts of the investigation thus far, I believe that Kohberger, the user of the 8458 phone, was likely the driver of the white Elantra that is observed departing Pullman, Washington, and that this vehicle is likely suspect vehicle number 1. Additionally, the route of travel of the 8458 phone during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, and the lack of the 8458 phone reporting to AT&T between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple incident that occurred at the King Road residence. On December 23rd, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI from June 23rd, 2022 to current. Prospective location information and a pen register trap and a trace on the 8458 phone to aid in efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in the case prior to the offense, conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was in contact with any of the victims associated before or after the alleged offense, any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13th, 2022, the location of the white Elantra registered to Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. On December 23rd, pursuant to that search warrant, I received historical records for the 8458 phone from AT&T from the time the account was opened in June of 2022. After consulting with CAST Special Agent, I was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from June 2022 to present, the time period authorized by the court. The records for the 8458 phone show that phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13th, 2022. Did you hear that? The records for the 8458 phone show the 8458 phone utilizing cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to the November 13th incident. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of their respective days. let's touch back real quick and we'll dive back into this. We're almost done. The neighbor said this guy was not coming in till late often. The neighbor that lived under him said he would be coming in late hours. I never really saw him during the day. I got home late and he was generally coming in around that same time. And one of the neighbors said that his car would be parked out there, so I would know when the lights are turning on or when he got in, because it would reflect into my windows. My friends, there's a lot of stuff that's adding up here, is it not? Wow. This is putting 2 to 2 together, but we don't know if he knew the girls yet. Let's dive into it some more. And so he was there 12 occasions prior to November 13th. I find that wow. One of these occasions, on August 21st, 2022, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources. It utilized this area. So on August 21st, 2022, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources, providing coverage to the King Road residents from approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. Literally, almost exactly 61 minutes. At approximately 11:37 p.m., that's when Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Corporal Duke, as mentioned above, about the seatbelt. The 8548 phone was utilizing cellular resources consistent with the location of the traffic stop during this time frame. Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via US Highway 195. And at approximately 12:36, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from the U.S. Chef store located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe showed a white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1 drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the cellular data from the 8548 phone. At approximately 12:46, the 8458 phone then utilized cellular data in the area of the Albertsons grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed Kohberger exit the white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1 at approximately 12:49 p.m. Interior surveillance cameras showed Kohberger walk through the store, purchase unknown items at the checkout, and leave at approximately 1:04 p.m. Kohberger's possible path of travel is shown as well. Let me show you that. This is his possible path of travel. You can see here yellow arrows. Not too sure what was going on here. Did he go here and then go here? These are possible travel ways. And so this is his possible path of travel at that time. And again, we're almost done here, so thank you for your patience here as you follow along with me as I read out this affidavit for you. Additional analysis of records for the 8458 phone indicated that between approximately 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provide coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That is consistent with the 8458 phone being in the area that the 8458 phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time the homicides occurred. On December 27th, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from the Kohberger family residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence was sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28, 2022, the Idaho State Lab reported that a DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as the biological father of suspect profile. Wow. At least 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. And so that's how they caught him. And so based on the information above, I am requesting an arrest warrant be issued for Bryan C. Kohberger, date of birth November 21st, 1994, for burglary at 1122 King Street in Moscow, Idaho, and 4 counts of murder in the first degree for the murders of Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xander Canuto, and Ethan Chapin. I declare, under penalty of perjury pursuant to the law of state of Idaho, that the foregoing is true and correct. That was dated December 29th, 2022, by the affiant who wrote this all up, and I am really believing it, Brett Payne. Great job to law enforcement. I know that we seemed a bit impatient, but great job to law enforcement. Don't you agree? I think that we have to say that you guys have done great. Right now, Bryan, it's not looking very good for you. That's what I'm seeing. It's not looking very good for him, is it? We'll wait to find out what happens next. But that has been your deep dive into the affidavit. There's a lot in there. You're going to want to make sure that if you want to keep diving deep into this, you're going to want to hit that subscribe button, because now I'm going to break some of that down and then make it a little more easy in bite-sized, chewable pieces of content. Because this is a lot to take in, right? There's a lot to this. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to keep in touch. Great job to law enforcement. My friends, this is not about who he is. This, I could care less. This is about justice for Idaho 4. 4 young kids taken from this world way too soon. And now we can start the next phase of getting justice for these young teenagers. Actually, none of them were teenagers. 2 were 20, 2 were 21. But they were young adults really ready to live their whole life. They had so much life ahead of them. In the affidavit, we did not find Kaylee's connection to him. The dad says there might be a connection, though. We don't know yet. We don't know, but it looks like he had been stalking them. We don't know if it was one or all 3 girls, but according to his phone, he literally has been stalking them. My friends, thank you for joining me in this episode of Deep True Crime as we took a deep dive into what do we know about this affidavit. And I really appreciate everyone who tunes in and sharing your thoughts on these cases, because these are traumatic things, are they not? This is some of the worst thing a person can ever know of. How could someone actually bring themselves to commit such a thing? I'll never understand. What I do know is that crime has been happening since day one of human lives. Day one, right? When Adam and Eve did not respect God, everything changed. Then Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. We know that story. Since day one, crime has been occurring. Since day one. Unfortunately, it's never going to stop. If it hasn't stopped till now, it's never going to stop. Because some people want to hurt other people and they'll take it to the extreme. Unless we can find a way that no one cares to hurt another person, that's a different story that we'll never be able to conquer. My friends, thank you for joining me on another episode of Deep True Crime. I look forward to being a voice for the victims and helping you be aware of what could go wrong in this crazy world we live in. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to serving you and being a voice for the victims again. Peace.